Hi everybody! Just a short little video today, but an extra video really, because I don't normally post on a Tuesday. So in today's video I'm going to be making some miniature leaves. If you've watched my channel for a long time, you might remember the video last year where I made a miniature wreath for my Tudor doll's house door. I'm using the same technique here, but I thought that I would show it again in case anybody was thinking of making some nice little Christmas decorations for their dolls' houses. Although I'm probably a bit late in the year for wanting to make decorations now, but miniature leaves will come in handy for lots of different things, like miniature plants and ivy growing up the front of a house. So the way that I started was by mixing the right shade of green. I'm using acrylic paint here. And once I was happy with the shade of green, I added some PVA glue. I used about the same amount of glue as I did paint, so 50% glue and 50% paint, and I mixed it all together. I'm using an old paintbrush because obviously the glue will affect the bristles on this paintbrush if I don't wash it out properly, so I thought I'd use an old one just in case I don't wash it properly. I don't want a nice one to get damaged. So once I had this mixture, I then painted tiny little dots onto some greaseproof paper. And then I used my tiniest paintbrush to pull those dots out to make little leaf shapes. What I like about making miniature leaves is that it actually doesn't matter what shape they are, because all leaves come in different shapes and sizes. Today I'm actually going to be making some ivy. So I have done some that are holly leaf shaped and some that are more ivy shaped. I had actually planned on making some miniature leaves in autumn so that I could do some that were nice oranges and browns, but I didn't get around to doing it, so I'm not quite as far on with my doll's house as I'd like to be, so that's a project that I'll save for next autumn. Instead, I'm making some Christmas decorations. Even though right now it's Christmas Eve, so it's just one day before Christmas. I'm a little late for making these, but it's fine. So as you can see, I made hundreds of leaves. And I did change the shade of green occasionally. I added a bit more yellow, or then I added a bit more blue, so that I had a variety of different greens. And if I was to do this again, I would actually have even more of a noticeable variety. I think it would have helped to add some white, but I didn't have any white acrylic paint, so that's why I've not got a huge selection of shades of green. I left the leaves to dry, and whilst they were drying, I decided to start making the stem or the branch that would run with the holly leaves or the ivy leaves. So to do this, I'm using just a thin piece of wire, and then I'm wrapping it in masking tape. And the reason why I'm wrapping it in masking tape is because I'm going to use a felt tip to colour all of it in, and obviously that wouldn't work if it was something shiny like sellotape. Obviously, if you're doing something similar, please do be careful because the ends of wire can be sharp. I made sure that the masking tape covered the ends of the wire so that there was nothing sharp sticking out. Now at this point, this piece of wire and the masking tape isn't quite as thin as I'd like it to be, but I thought that I would colour it in the felt tip before changing the size. I then had a little break. I made myself some spicy carrot soup. And then I went back to doing this project. So to make this a bit thinner, I spun it around and twisted it. It's still not quite as thin as I would have liked, but it's okay. It's not actually going to be going in my doll's house. It's going to be going in a doll's house that's slightly bigger than 12th scale. In fact, actually, I should have probably done the leaves a bit bigger. So when the leaves were dry, this is what they looked like. Thankfully, when my cat chose to walk across them, they had already dried. So I'd painted them onto greaseproof paper because I could easily peel them off the greaseproof paper once they'd dried. And then slowly and carefully I glued them onto my twisted wire and masking tape. At first I was being really careful about where I was putting each leaf, but I've got to admit that as I went on I did start to add them more quickly and a little more carelessly. I do actually wish that I'd taken my time and positioned them all correctly, because I'm looking back at it now and thinking that it would have looked just that bit better if I'd have thought carefully about where I was placing them. So this is what my ivy looks like, and I'm really pleased with it, apart from the fact that I would maybe make leaves that were slightly bigger, or a branch that was slightly thinner, just so that the scale matched. So these could be used for running at the side of a house, or they could be used for some other decorations, but I'm actually going to be using these for another project because I am uploading a video tomorrow with something else that I'm making, and these will go with it. So if you're interested, please remember to hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I will upload the video scheduled for probably 4 PM tomorrow. So I hope that you have a really lovely day, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.